Hello, everyone! Welcome back to the RacialInvestor.com's Daily Brief! Woohoo! Party! Actually, I saw Colleen just joined the call, so actually I feel confident we'll have an awesome show today. Anyway, great to see everybody back on the site and ready for another exciting action-packed episode. I think we're live on YouTube. Let me just make sure. Yep, there is the YouTube page is doing its thing. So nice to see we got everything rocking and rolling here. And actually, we've got double mayor power today. We've got both Alex is here. Hey, Alex, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Brian, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. And we've got Kevin here. How you doing this morning, Kevin?
I'm doing great, thanks.
Awesome. So I've got two mayors driving the bus. They're fighting over the steering wheel right now, but that should be a good thing for our broadcast today. So welcome everybody. I probably the best way to start off the broadcast here today is just simply talk a little bit about the fact that it just feels like the whole market. And let's see, which screen do we want to show you? I think this one. The whole market is moving towards a big sort of event here today. FOMC minutes are due out at 11 o'clock. So that's in about 2 hours, right when we have our, and I always get this wrong, I'm not quite sure why, but our level 3 group tutorial session today should start. So I'm seeing across the board that everybody's sort of moving towards this. Of course, we didn't have a heck of a lot of new econs hit the market here today. But we did, it's interesting to see things like existing home sales and new home sales came out. I guess it's just existing home sales, beg your pardon. Just when I look at this data, I love looking at these just cute little charts. I mean, you can see, the great part about it is at some point we actually should be able to get to the point where we can do all of the TA that we've learned through TRI on fundamental data prints. We should all look at this and go, gee whiz, that sure looks like a W there. I find it extremely hard to believe that the Fed can crank rates too much lower in the face of home sales data coming in still fairly robust here. So that was really the only major econ that I saw come out this morning. It was interesting to see Canada's inflation rate came in just a little bit higher than what was expected. Core rate even came in a little bit higher than expected. And even month-over-month rates came in a little higher than expected. Canada, what's this, backwater burg. But, I've been watching closely the Canadian dollar here, wondering what's going to happen with the good old Canuck buck. Thought I had it on here, but maybe I got rid of it. And our sort of conversation of late, let's see if I can just go grab that, about the currencies is I've been sort of puzzled here as to the metal proxies, Australian dollar, South African rand, they're looking extremely weak. The question was the energy-related commodity markets going to roll over and join the bear? As we were sort of coming off here on the Canadian dollar, we've had a number of econs come out, including just an absolutely stunning jobs number that came out of Canada here recently. So, it's hanging in there, right? And technically we're now getting back down into areas where the pros might actually start thinking about buying. Keeping a close eye on good old Canada, see how it goes there. It was interesting to see too, for the first time in quite a while, we actually had a drawdown in crude stocks this morning. You can see gasoline stocks were expected to rise a little bit, and they rose a little bit more than expected. Not really a huge number, but I think the big sort of surprise this morning was a fairly large drawdown in EIA stocks. So this is obviously Canada being energy related. It's going to be very closely correlated with how the energy market goes. So I think on balance, these econs are relatively tepid. They're relatively muted. Nothing, very few of these big red things. So when I looked at the market waking up this morning, what I saw, which sort of jumped out at me, was let's see if I can find it here for you. Just a ton of triangles. I mean, triangles everywhere. And you just don't see that every day. So I think what this is sort of suggesting to me when I see all of these consolidations is the whole market is getting ready for this FOMC minutes announcement. And a lot of these triangles are starting to approach sort of 2/3 apex or even a little bit beyond that. In this particular case, we might even move that up there. We're getting ready. It feels to me like we're getting ready for the meeting minutes will come out, and we should see some breakouts and follow-throughs. I'm constantly watching this sort of risk on versus risk off conversation, and it appeared first thing out of the gate this morning that risk off was coming off here. And you can even see I guess that's the bonds here. They're sort of battling with whether they want to go positive. And risk on crude oil, stock market was pointing higher here. But, here's another one of these crazy disconnects. Is Bitcoin a risk on asset? Is it a risk off asset? Bitcoin's obviously coming off a chunk here today. So I don't know whether it's back in the risk-off category. I suppose, Mr. Thomas Lee said he loved the idea that Bitcoin was a completely uncorrelated asset. Maybe we are seeing that to a certain degree. But I do believe that the general message of the market right now is get ready. We're coiling. Everything's building to some sort of apex. So keep your eyes peeled. And I think, basically this is a play on the follow-through following that Fed minutes announcement. I was curious this morning, and I don't know whether, considering the fundamentals are just so horrific, I don't know whether I can really get behind the trade too much, but I was surprised to see that the euro is trying to flash some bullish signals off of this 4-hour chart. We did go uber bull there this morning, which surprised me a little bit. My hunch is whatever sort of that Fed minutes announcement, if it comes out that they're all thinking dovish and they all want to crank rates lower, maybe we see the euro come back here. The only problem I have with this trade is it's nothing more than just technical. Fundamentally, I really don't like the situation out of Europe right now. Did see, I think I mentioned it yesterday, but I saw in the rags this morning the Italians, a whole bunch of political controversy around that. And so they might be back in the spotlight with austerity programs and all that. I don't know. Interesting to see. This is the only one now. You can see it's fallen out of uber bull, so I really would have to see it go back into uber bull for me to get super jazzed about this. And actually, this is a really good commentary on sort of, the dangers of front-running algo without the actual structure coming in on the uber bull print, because Bitcoin recently had an uber bull print, and I debated, we'll talk more Bitcoin later, but I debated whether this was front running the trade a little bit too much, and not really following the algo the way that I'd seen it perform well. And I've been having this sort of debate with myself here. Yes, the trade worked its way higher. It did hit 50% level. We'll talk more about Bitcoin in a bit, but you can clearly see she backed off here. And fascinating how, gee whiz, right back into trade location here now this morning. All right, so long and short of it here, of course, US dollar's just sitting there potentially dojiing out. I think we had talked, and I mentioned this in the little free video that I do for the YouTubers, that if you were going to short the U.S. dollar, I thought that targeting this off of the daily chart, the candle body highs up here, was probably the way to go. Now I don't know, because we made a new high here yesterday. At best, if this is fractaling out, then we have to see a move through these lows tomorrow. But considering FOMC minutes are coming out, I wouldn't be surprised to see some sort of gyration around this level up here. And as I said a moment ago, really on the weeklies, all this has done is just created a doji up here. So we'll see how that goes. Nothing really concrete. Again, I think the whole market is just sort of waiting on this Fed minutes announcement. I suppose the currency play, you can see we're down against candle body lows on the euro, so that's sort of that conversation. 35% of the US dollar index is euro, so excuse me. So we're watching this diamond really closely, of course, on the gold. And I thought this was fascinating in that, where's the best place to show you this? I guess it's over here somewhere. Well, I think I have it. Yeah, right here. This is almost like a triangle within a triangle. I have no idea how this is going to resolve. I mean, no one really does until it actually does resolve. But fascinating how we've built this consolidation, and you could even argue maybe even like a reload zone within a reload zone trade there this morning, kind of like what we just saw on Bitcoin. Beautiful level right there overnight. It'll be curious. I'll be curious to see. Julian, of course, is on the call tomorrow. Let's see how his gold trade played out, whether he took profits into that event. But what a great analogy of, you gotta wait for these these diamond patterns, these triangles to resolve themselves. And we're definitely coming into a head here. Usually they say that these triangles resolve about 2/3 the apex. And interesting how that's basically going to be right around that FOMC event. So something big's coming down the pike, everybody. Get your, strap on your seatbelts. We could be in for a wild ride here by the end of trading today. It'd be, tomorrow's daily brief will be really interesting to see how all this resolves. So I think on balance, you can see, as I said, very long-winded here, but on balance, it sure looks to me like the whole damn market is just getting ready for some sort of big event here, i.e. Fed minutes. We had our little TRI SOF meeting yesterday. Some interesting ideas came out of it. Casey had an interesting insurance play, and I noticed that there was, I posted in the lounge this morning, some people were, well, not people, but, the market was talking about how one insurance company in particular was just launching itself higher on a lot of insider buying. So I wonder if there's something turning in the insurance business, and you can see some big player came in and stepped in on this thing, on this breakout here. Us at TRI, we can't chase. We're just going to have to keep dragging our, maybe I'll zoom out there. We're going to have to keep dragging our fib study higher and then adjusting our reload zones. Do find it interesting, this trend line and reload zones line up. So, if you're interested in the insurance space, something to keep an eye on there. Thank you, Casey, for that idea. And Kavarkanator, who's just an absolute boss of late, highlighted this stock out of our meeting yesterday. I don't really know the fundamentals of this company too well, Park City Group, but a great looking double bottom. And it was funny, just before we started the broadcast, I guess the stock was down earlier this morning, and how ironic it actually just gave you a little opportunity to get in off the double bottom and then just quickly launched itself right back higher. So interesting little idea there from Kevin. So I think Kevin, if you want to speak, feel free to chime in here. But I think you said that you just really like the chart action here. Is that correct? I don't know. Are you around?
Yeah, I was just looking at the chart, but then I did notice that some news just came out today. Well, first, they just secured another deal. They make software for they make a supply chain software app called Repositrack. And
is this in the food industry? Was that one?
They do some food stuff.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, hopefully everybody here on the site can see the nice triangle, double bottom within double bottom, and nice pick there, Kevin. Great stuff.
I guess some business named Transnational Supply selected their software today. That came out on the news today.
All right. And I mean, you zoom out on this thing, you can see, gee whiz, sure has a long way to go if it can get its act together. I think also too, this is a really good example of maybe not. I don't know. TradingView always puts that right where you don't want it. All right, anyway, there we go. Interesting. Right at that trend line now. So really good analogy of just wait for 1, 2, 3. All right, 4, 5. Can we W here? Nope. All right, 6 now. So maybe keep an eye on this area going forward if this name interests you. But it was an idea that we were chewing on out of the meeting yesterday. So thank you for that, Kevin. Unfortunately, a little bit too late to be a buyer now. I think this was another one of Casey's. Now, I don't know whether you're interested in these kind of names or not, but if you do buy stock, interesting chart here as well. This AAOI, we've been kicking this around on the TRI-SOF meeting for a while now. You can see the double bottom that's working. Got a little bit of a fractal coming in off these lows, so we had sort of agreed out of the meeting that we'd just keep an eye on this one. But there's something for you to add to your watch list if you happen to see W's come in. We've been, of course, watching this riot. Definitely got trade location, no doubt about that. The question ultimately is, can we get some sort of bottom to come in on the other side of this trend line? So we're keeping a close eye on this guy as well. Couple names, even Alex just mentioned this one this morning, and I was very, very impressed with this. This Hammer Metals. Now, this is a UK name, or Aussie name, so you have to have access to the Australian Stock Exchange. This is for all our boys down under, Sin, Johnny Salmon, few others, that Mike that came up. I would definitely take a serious look at this thing. You can see the amount of volume coming in here on the buy side, and look at this beautiful W here. So I don't know the fundamental story on this. Alex, this was one of your names, right? Is Alex here? I don't know whether the mayor disappeared. But anyway, it might be worth your while. There we go. Agent 47 in Melbourne. All right. Yeah, Agent 47. So there's another one for you. I don't know the story behind this, but that's one damn good looking chart, I'll tell you. So, if you are down under, I see this trades on the Australian Stock Exchange. If you have access to the Australian Stock Exchange, you might want to take a good look at that guy. And all I'm doing here is just I kind of like the idea of Wednesdays. Maybe we'll just concentrate on the stocks that are in the space that we reviewed out of the TRI-SOF meeting. And then one other one that jumped out at me here, which looks really interesting, is of course biotech. If the market does come off here this fall, which is pretty typical, biotech stocks usually do a little bit better in the face of that. I like the fact that we've got this nice range here. We came right back down against the bottom end of the range into this tail. 1, 2, 3. Okay, show me a W, show me a W. There's the W. So this CTIC looks very, very interesting down in here. So there's another stock name for you to sort of chew on this morning. And I'm not quite sure. Let's see if we got any. Yeah, we're getting signs of bull divs. Yeah, in fact, actually a nice double div. Gotta love that. Nice W's in Willie with him stupid. So put it all together. That's not a bad looking little stock idea there for you. Let's just maybe. Yeah, we'll just leave that. So a few names for you to chew on here in Stockland this morning, if you so choose. Just a report on old positions, and I certainly don't want to see anybody buying this here. But I was very pleased to see, and actually I saw, here, this is the wrong list. I saw a couple of the others on the site. Kevin, I think you actually got a trade on this one off. But I was very pleased to see that this Sonos popped up and gave us a nice treat. Oh, look at that. It's coming off this morning too. So really good example of TRISOF. And technically speaking, it looks like this was a beautiful AB equals CD that sort of had to get validated. Everybody should look at this and understand exactly why Brian would be interested in a name like this. If we just do simple 50% rolls of even just this range, something along those lines, we probably could work a little bit higher here. 16.5 is the ultimate 50% roll. But very simply put, when I buy these options, I like to try and buy like an odd lot and sell. So in this case, I bought 3 and then sell a little bit more than half of the position at that double price. And then that way I've got a free option on this. Basically, I got 100 shares right through to January. If I do see the market work up to a price, this is a 12.5 call. So if we do get up to $4 on this option, which would actually here, let's move that there. Sorry. Let's call it basically $4, right? So it's a 12.5 call. So at the 50% rule, this option should have $4 of intrinsic value. If we get up into those kind of price areas, like I said, I got 2/3 of the position off at 2.5. If we do get up into that $4 area, I think I'm more than happy to take my money and run on the remaining position. But long and short of it here, I mean, this thing might just keep steamrolling higher. Tough to say. But sitting at 2.5, that is double my purchase price. Sell 2 of the 3. So in essence, I actually booked about a 30% return on the trade. And I've got my little freebie, and if it does run up to that $4, awesome. If it totally craps out here, it's not the end of the world. But in the TRISOF meeting kind of yesterday, I kind of reiterated, I like the idea. I want a story. I want something that's going to sort of be a catalyst driving forward on a lot of these names that we're buying. And of course, Sonos got these new speakers that they're selling at IKEA, and from what I understand, they're just completely sold out, which is absolutely a capitalist dream. That's what you want to see. A good anecdote of that sort of, if we get up into our target area, or even if we don't even get to that target area, but the option price is so bid up that it's reflecting the intrinsic value of being at the target, I think it's a good idea to take some money off the table. And a really good example of that is that OSTK, I think it is. Yeah. So here we had talked lots about I suppose that's a bit higher. It's 28, but we got up into sort of the up into this area here, and I think I had a $20 call option The option was trading at like $4.5, which was implying like 24, $25 on the stock, and so I just liquidated the whole thing. And this is what often happens. And the problem here, of course, you sure hope you took profits on the move up here. Beautiful. AB equals CDs, 50% of this particular range. This is what can often happen in these, just sort of, like right out of the blue, things get whacked, and you can see the bear divs and Willie Stupid. If you wait for this event, those fat option premiums are often gone. So, kind of like that right, I might even argue that Sonos is sort of like in this kind of phase right now. There might be one or another push higher here, but if we do get up into like I said, $4 on this option, I think I'd be more than happy just to hop off and take the rest of my money. So just an FYI, I was very pleased to see this nice win booked here. And I don't know whether you can get 2.5 on this call now that it's down 20-30 cents. Probably also a really good anecdote. If you're going to be trading these options, you better make damn sure to have your open orders working at your levels and just let the market work into there and just get it done. My hunch is those option premiums are off a bit now. All right. So I don't think there's anything else I wanted to mention here. I'm exceedingly pleased at our little stock picking group. These guys are doing really good work, and they're finding good ideas. And like I said, look at Kevin's idea, just rocking and rolling. Somebody says the last price on that option was $220 now, so yeah, it's already starting to come off. So there's a number of names to chew on, right? If you're interested in the insurance business, let's keep an eye. We got a W working. Let's keep an eye on this reload zone. If you're interested in biotech names, I think this guy's basically sitting at his double bottom. If you're interested in application software within the food services industry, it's a little bit esoteric, but what the heck, a good chart is a good chart. Let's keep an eye on pullbacks down into this area. And if you're interested in Australian stocks, all you guys down under, I think you're actually being handed a gift right here on this Hammer Metals. So keep an eye on him. It is a very, very cheap price, so I got the sneaky suspicion there's a lot of stock out on this thing, so just be careful there, okay, everybody? Okay, so that is stock market talk. I don't know, it's probably worth just taking a quick boo at some of the bear ETFs if we're thinking about stock market pullbacks and stuff into the fall. We should see half-decent technical trade setups here on these, and frankly speaking, I don't see anything right now. I do see, it looks like, here this is basically the Dow ETF, the inverse ETF. I think there was a pretty good looking trade there at the end of July, and you can see how it shot up here, but now we're sort of sitting in no man's land. Ironically enough, to actually justify shorting the stock market, I think I got to see a lot of these ETFs. This is the NASDAQ one, and notice there's a cheeky little gap right down here at the bottom of value. This is the semiconductors. You can see it's just slowly making lower highs and lower lows off of V bottom. I just don't see any real sort of signals that we need to start getting too aggressive on calling stock market tops here. The only markets that do kind of look interesting to me, and it's this is interesting into itself, is the bond bear ETF. Of course, is right on its knees. I don't really see any signs of bottoms here yet. So if you are interested in hunting, that would be the risk off, if that makes any sense. I don't see any signs of a turn here, so I'm not really looking for a bond market top just yet. But the one market that does interest me, I'm not necessarily calling a trade here, but I'm definitely going to keep a close eye on this. This is the gold ETF, the miners. So this is the exact opposite of that XAU trade. And notice, she's trying to put in some sort of bottom here. So we'll keep a close eye on this. You can see, though, that this thing has broken people's hearts here a few times recently. So I really want to see, I like these kind of bottoms here for that kind of rally. I want to see some sort of, solid W come in here, especially on other sides of trend lines, those kind of conversations. Looking for a bounce back up. And gee whiz, this could be a double on this thing from here. So I will keep an eye on this, and of course lots of gaps to the upside. We've talked lots about how that gold market sure has come an awful long way. So I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this guy here going forward. But no real signals yet to do anything. This is the oil inverse ETF. This is coming down into some interesting levels here. Again, we'll keep a close eye on this. If I do start seeing some well-defined W's, I might take a look at that, but nothing really to do just yet. Brian, he loves the idea of shorting the market heading into the end of the summer. A nice, especially on things like this NASDAQ, nice eating of this tail, this tail. There's a lot of tails in here. Filling in some of these gaps, I think is the Russell 2000. And then I might start getting interested on the short side. Also, too, probably, I missed that trade short on the Canadian banks. This is the Canadian financial sector ETF. Gee whiz, you can see all the M's. But I'm actually thinking I'd like to see a nice little counter trend rally back up to fill in this gap, which would sort of correspond with all those bear ETFs coming right back down against their lows. And if we do get this rally up into here, remember, sort of stock market wise, we're thinking cycles. We're actually technically at sort of a bull pivot cycle, so it really doesn't surprise me to see the stock market jump up here. But maybe into that sort of mid to the end of September, I think that's probably where our short trade in the stock market and things like the financial stocks rallying back up top here. Just a simple trend line test would take us back up into that area. That's probably where I'm going to be hunting new long ideas. In fact, you can even see a cute little bull div here coming in on short-term momentum. Not calling a long trade there, right? I would, the only way I could get interested on the long side is if we were down against these lows and we started seeing divergence in structure. So it's nothing more than just looking for a counter trend rally back up top to hunt those put options. Okay, so that's stock market, and it's funny actually because I started out this morning going, I don't know what the hell I'm going to talk to you guys about today. But it seems we have some information to convey to you guys, so that's a good sign. There's something else I wanted to talk to you guys about. I noticed, I've got a couple of these little dogs in this BTT trade. I'm still waiting for a counter trend rally back into this level to hop off this thing. Doge is hanging in here, but I gotta say, Colin, and I think Colin works in a community that's really strictly concentrating on crypto. He found a couple names that were just going absolutely nuts. What I noticed though is, with regard to crypto, is man, this whole thing is so in flux right now. But Colin found maybe let's see if I can just do this new chart here. Let's put away the currencies for now. He found, that salt. So, the problem here is what the fuck exchange do you trade these things on now? So this is over on Huobi. But look at this chart. Son of a bitch. So it's almost like, if you can just somehow avoid Trex and all that nonsense. And the worst part about this is I think that there's going to be stories like this that survive, but Trex, of course, steals your coins. They're probably going to put them in their own wallet, and then all of a sudden, 6-8 months later, they're going to announce that they're going to relist it. But, oh, by the way, we just stole your coins. And there's not a fucking thing you can do about it. Talk about corruption and talk about total scam. But I call a spade a spade. I mean, anybody who's hunting these setups off of tertiary exchange like Huobi, wow. I mean, I sure hope you had your open orders working this morning. You had to be like lightning speed. But wow, what a great little setup. Colin, did you want to talk a little bit about what you're seeing here today?
Sure, yeah. Good morning, guys.
Let's see. I have to figure out how to screen share here with the. Hold on a second here.
A lot of these high volume breakups off the bottom.
Yeah, hold on. Where are you, Colin? Where is Colin? There you are. Are you screen sharing? Hey, there you go. Oh, it's his handsome mug. Hello, sir.
I better move it.
It's up to you. If you want to screen share, I can just put the charts on there.
I was actually just going to go make a late breakfast, but this is more fun.
And as Joshua reminds me, I have to move the microphone over to you. So now talk. No, not your microphone. I have to move my microphone because we're doing it through this OBS. But okay, that's fine. You just tell me what symbol to type in. And if you see something that looks interesting, we can always just do that.
Okay, so no screen shares?
It's up to you.
No, I'm happy to. I don't know how to, though.
On the Google Meet down at the bottom, there should be a little on the right-hand side. It should say present to everyone.
Yeah, your entire screen, a window. Oh, yeah. Let's take over the Rational Investor as main presenter. Okay, present now. Algo. Here we go. All right. You guys see this?
Okay, I gotta move this over now. So there is Colin and his handsome T-shirt. We gotta get a TRI T-shirt on there.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether we're
seeing an chart right now.
okay. Now we're seeing picture in picture in picture. So that's not the right one. Which one is it I have to do here? And keep in mind, everybody, we're just sort of learning this as we go.
Learning.
Are you screen sharing? Yay, we are. All right, there you go.
Okay, there we go.
So you're showing Algo BTC.
Yeah, so as you can see here, I've got a few watch lists, right? So I've got the whole Binance, right? So every single pair on Binance, every single pair on Huobi. Now, I don't typically surf the Huobi list, so missed the Salt one, but the other night was going down Binance and then flag in purple, sort of anything that catches my eye. And what I've been noticing is a lot of these big volume spikes over the last couple of weeks. And there's been quite a few. Dusk was one of the big ones. If you had, been scanning like this, you caught this nice little move off the bottom, got a nice retrace into an RLZ here that just, made for a beautiful little setup. It actually went a little below, but if you drill into this one, I imagine you'll find all the things you need for a three-stepper. Likely some low time frame divergences, and then you get your W breakout and off you go. So Salt obviously caught my eye this morning. Somebody actually posted it in a different channel I'm in. ELF. So there's a lot of like this sort of evidence of buyers stepping in right now in the alt market, which, is encouraging. And so the other day I just kind of thought, instead of just staring at this.
Oh, look at that one. Son of a bitch. That's a buy right now.
Yeah, that's KMD. So this is another one I'm watching closely, kind of waiting for this divergence to confirm. But yeah, you got your nice volume coming in. Big break up, don't chase it, wait for that RLZ, nice double bottom. W is about to come in here with some divergence. So KMD is definitely, actually I'm going to move that to green. So you can just move that up. So you really like something, you take it off purple, put it right into like a almost ready kind of list.
That's kind of cool. So you can change like the flag color on your trading account?
Yeah, so this is part of the scan system that I come up with, because oftentimes, you see something after it pumps and it's all like, oh man, I wish I was looking at that. So I kind of came up with this scanning idea where you scan just sort of location, you put purple location, and then if you find divergence, you can click it over to the green list. And then if you find sort of market structure, you can even go to like a blue list. And then,
wow, that is really cool.
Yeah, it just kind of helps organize with all the noise, right? Because there's so many names, so many exchanges. So yeah, I think, right now, and then LRC actually was looking really nice. And then I saw that its volume was like 5 Bitcoin. on Binance, so I decided to stay away. But this one's coming in nicely. Let's see a few other purple ones. I mean, Bread actually just kind of made a W. It's a slightly different setup, but just sort of confirmed here. So, might be kind of able to catch a bid here up to this little.
Well, so the
support
div
level.
is confirmed now. Oh, so I would just be hunting a W now.
Yeah, exactly. So some of these, it was find that big volume breakout and then catch the retrace.
Wouldn't that just
Um,
piss everybody in crypto off, right? We're all waiting for the summer rally, and it turns out all this stuff starts rallying in like September and October.
Yeah,
Woo,
we've
look at
seen
that one,
it before,
KNC. Look at that beautiful chart. Well, it's good to
Yeah.
see that the alts are starting to perk up here a bit.
Seriously, and actually, if I could pull up, let me just open up the dominance charts. I had a little dominance kind of inversion thing going on. So check this out. We've got some interesting levels on the dominance. Oh, they're a little off here. I guess maybe I was on the 4 hour or something when I drew that. No, definitely the daily. So basically, you've got. Oh, what just happened here? Anyways,
Well, if that, so
They look-
total 2 BTC, and I never understand these, but
This is
total
weird,
2
dude. Look-
BTC, what does that mean?
yeah. So total 2 divided by Bitcoin. So it's sort of like total market cap, and then like remove the Bitcoin, so you get sort of your alt dominance.
Ah,
This is like confusing me right now though, because
I could see a
had it-
nice harmonic there, though. So
well, I
if
had
it
where
goes
this
through
was
your
actually
line,
on
if
on
it goes
top of
through
the
that
78.
78.6, that would be a wicked buy signal.
Well, this is the thing. So this bearish market structure before, I might have just moved it or something, because before it was actually parked right on top of the 786. I don't know what happened to this chart, because yeah. So anyways, I was talking about this earlier in our Discord, and it was actually just on top of the 76. So if it was going to fail, it was going to fail right here, and it bounced. So we caught a little bounce last night, just like so this was up here. I don't know what happened to that chart, but
And
then,
so the
yeah,
bottom chart is like the
Big-
Bitcoin owning this bitch, right?
Yeah, and you can see they're both kind of at key levels here as well.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
We got the extension off of here up to this pivot, and then it extends up, so you're right in sort of parking garage town. I think somebody else pointed out earlier that like Bitcoin dominance was actually in sort of a rising wedge too, for anyone who trades that stuff. Yeah, you can see that there too.
Well, that's
Sort of
encouraging. That's
Sort of wedging out up here. So yeah, I mean, hey, if that falls off a cliff, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what actual price does. But as far as dominance yo-yos go,
and so the
I-
pairs that you're looking at, they're all versus BTC, eh?
exactly. So if that's the case on the dominance side, and we're thinking about maybe having a bit of a switcheroo here, then all of these setups gain a little bit more strength, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I
So,
guess
yeah.
that would just simply say that, like I like to look at these alts versus USD. If, Jesus, look at that son of a bitch go.
So this is the other big one, yeah. Metal and salt have just been catching these huge volume bars. I mean, actually, somebody in our Discord spotted this down here, one of our members, and he got long off here, so he's loving this little thing right now. But
Nice W. Change that to a line chart for me.
it's a little late for an entry, obviously, at this exact spot.
Look
but,
at that W.
Yeah, clean, and then off you go.
So there are opportunities in alt land. Maybe I got to start pulling up my alt charts and start taking.
Yeah,
a
and
good
it's
look again.
funny because it lulls you to sleep, right? I mean, it capitulates and it dumps and it just looks awful, and then you're crazy to even be looking at them, and then quietly, without anyone noticing, it just starts to come alive. And usually, by the time you're hearing about it, it's already testing these 200 MAs, and it's a little late. So
Well,
It's hard
at this point here, back on that chart, and actually this is a good example, right? Just draw your reload zones off of this recent high, kind of like Kevin's. I would even just do just this range here, whatever this recent peak
right
is
here?
here. No, just even today's high. Right, today's high.
Oh, yeah,
and just
sorry, I
sort
see
of
what you're
drag it up as we go. And reverse your reload zones. And my hunch is this actually we've got the Kavarkinator on here himself, so I could easily see a Kavark come in here. So actually, that's encouraging to see that this alt market's actually perking up a bit. Thank you for this contribution, Colin.
Yeah, no problem. Happy to jump in.
Ooh,
here.
what was that? What was the one you just had on there? Go back. Which is the one you just had on there a second ago?
No, I think nulls.
No, one more back. I don't know. Anyway, hunt those W's, guys. It looks like there's some opportunity here.
Yeah. So the scan is definitely.
Ooh, hello.
Yeah.
What was that one?
This one, yeah.
Yeah, hello.
So yeah, if you, I mean, again, highly recommend doing a nice little alt scan today. If anyone's just thinking, like, what am I going to do in the market today? And I like alts. There's a lot of this stuff going on. And then again, going back to our dominance chart, if Bitcoin dominance does break down here, I think we'll see a really, decent chance at some nice counter trend rallies up into these reload zones up here.
Yeah, good stuff.
Which in some cases is a nice, 30, 40.
And that's
50.
Pivx. Pivx, that's the old Dash play, right?
Dash fork, yeah, sort of a privacy thing, and just
really caveat emptor. You see where the double bottom is. If we break those lows, you better get the hell out of there. But probably not a bad idea to chew on.
Well, that's the other thing. So, for example, with algo here, you're getting nice RR because your invalidation is so nearby. Now you got your big volume spike, came down, kind of failed out here. But it's just sitting at this, nothing's confirmed where W's are market structure. But if you zoom in, you're catching some nice divergence here, potential for now. So depends on your risk tolerance. I personally did not jump on this when I first saw it, but it's, it's something to be said for getting long in potential bottom areas. Just, I guess, depends on your appetite, right, and your setup.
So you've got location there for all our level oneers. I can see a little div trying to come in here on the MACD.
Yeah.
And I can see, if these recent lows hold, I can see a cute little W, and that's going to actually fire the signal right off your 70.2 that you love.
Yeah, exactly. So you could get here and get a nice little takeoff. So,
and really, if anything, also to Colleen, hopefully you can see this. If that W's out there, then that's pretty much going to be like we're accepting back into value. So
yeah, you can see the value here as well. If you pull it up, you might get a clearer picture.
Yeah, so dips below value, good old Hogue. In fact, I saw people talking about Hogue value trades in Bitcoin this morning. So
that was me, and actually I just got wicked out. It was pretty nasty.
Oh,
bounced
did they go and break the lows?
By about $8, but it's all good. So yeah, I mean, actually, look at that, 702 lining up with the value right there. So I'm actually gonna shortlist this one to green as well.
Yeah, it looks like she's ready to go.
And
I would even draw a trend line off of. Look at that cute little W. Geez, they're all over the place.
Yeah, this is the short list of the ones I found, so they're all over this list. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot that are still looking like.
And isn't that interesting? Do you have any interest in Trex whatsoever?
You know what? I don't, just because of the layout. I trade one or two tokens there. BOXX is an old favorite of mine. I've gone there for that, but I just. Something about the UI I just don't like. I really just trade Binance and Beaxy and Huobi right now, and Huobi not really, but I scan it. I don't
I know Julian. He really likes Binance. So are you feeling as though this place is Binance is dominating the space now?
Yeah, I mean, well, market cap and volume wise, there, the Goliath. Beaxy is actually the one that I presented about a few weeks ago. It's sort of in a capitulation spiral right now, but they're loading up their liquidity solutions, and as a UI, they're my favorite. So I'm hoping they'll do well. We'll see.
Okay.
But with the Binance ban coming, the U.S. users are going to have to go somewhere for a few months, and we'll see if they choose Beaxy. Is this that downtrend line you were talking about?
Yeah, I might. I mean that's a clothesline, so you have to change it to a line chart. Yeah, there you go. So I would prefer to see this W on the other side of that line, but nonetheless, interesting. So this is going to be the third test. I do like this. If this thing breaks in that trend line, and that will force your MACD to go into divergence, and then I'd be hunting the W. Whatever W comes in after that, I would be all over it.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, no, I love that idea, actually. I'll just put a little alert here. Be cheeky little, 98. friendly number front run, and if that fires, it'll just remind me to come back and check on this guy.
Yeah.
It's a Binance IEO, so they run hot, and of course they have internal connections. And my friend has a theory, he's just like, there's just no way they let these coins die. It's bad for business, and they have the means and the potential to pump them. So it's in that sort of sexy new toy kind of category for coins.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It'd be interesting to get Riz's take on the order book and the order flow on this thing going forward. Maybe run this one as an interesting experiment, Riza, for your order book analysis. Interesting if you draw a simple trend line off of those two peaks, the peak from, early August and then mid-August, and notice how that's going to line up almost exactly with the top of value. So
yeah, I see what you're saying there.
You might. I don't know whether you could get it. It looks like it's probably good for maybe like 50% gain or somewhere in that area. Well, I guess not. So maybe about 30-40% gain.
Yeah, you got a 786 up there as well from this smaller move.
Yeah. And then, of course, so maybe lighten off like 2/3 of the position up on a brush of that trend line. Stop to scratch on remaining and just see if this thing breaks out through that massive formation. This thing could make you rich.
Well, and that's that other piece, right? Is the whole price discovery. This is just post IEO. Sellers dumping. They often launch at around 3 to 5x, so you get a lot of sell pressure built in because you're down here, but you're still 2x. Like, no problem, I'll just sell, right? So I find that these IEOs, they sometimes get a run up early, but they often just wash right out. And so if this is going to bottom out, you've got to consider sort of what the speculators will say about its price, right? So what's its market cap? Well, it's actually pretty high, 138 million. So there's not a lot of upside speculation.
How do you find out where the ICO price was?
And then that's another interesting idea. I'll go IO price. See if we can get a quick look at that. IO price $2.40. So it's down about 80% versus Bitcoin.
But I guess what I'm saying is
no
like the seed financing. I wonder how we'd figure that. People who got in on the Ethereum, it listed, and of course the price was way higher than where they got in on that. So I'm not quite sure how that works, but I haven't figured that out in this space yet. So the total market cap right now on this thing's 125 million, but they only raised 20 million or so.
Yeah, 138 million market cap right now, based on circulating supply times price. So that's high. That's high, actually.
2.7 billion coins out. Jesus Christ!
And actually, I have no idea what this project does. It's not one of the ones.
Oh no, I guess there's 250 million out right now. It's gee whiz, it should
250 million.
That's a heck of a lot of money, eh? Gee whiz.
Yeah, and you'd think at that level be a bit more of a penny token down in the 26 to 10 cents. But who knows? I mean, I think they've had
at 50 cents. That's a blue chipper in crypto.
yeah, seriously. With this kind of supply, and then obviously you've got your upside inflation to 2.7 billion.
Joshua asks, Colin, can you export that list to a text file and post it here if you don't mind?
Absolutely, actually, I can do that.
Because I love that color coding and then the list of the Binance coins, so that we have a nice little watch list.
Yeah, I got really tired of missing things just because they weren't on my sort of bias list, as I call it. All the old coins that I knew the FA behind. So I just decided, it's time to start scanning the entire friggin' market.
Okay. Well, this was kind of a special treat. Thank you for this presentation this morning, Colin. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me in. Always a pleasure. I will send it back to you, sir.
All right. Good stuff. Great content for everybody on the site. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, now, what the heck? I think resume my presentation. Okay, we'll go like that. I think I should be presenting, but we'll see what happens here. You are presenting to everyone. Hey, there we go. Probably the bottom line here is, and especially if you're trading these coins, just make really darn sure you have your open orders working, and you've got all your levels set ahead of time, because like this kind of stuff happens all the time in crypto, right? Actually, I'm actually very pleased that the altcoin market's starting to look a little bit perkier. Maybe we can start doing some shopping again in that space. Just looking at this SALT, though, this is such a good example. You could see these W's and all this kind of stuff and be like, oh man, I missed the trade. But then notice, and this is where I really want you guys to focus in on reload zones. Like, really, I think the trade just set up absolutely textbook. Right down in that area right there. Right, down, up, down. In fact, if we change that to a line chart, you'll probably see the W is clean as day, eh? Oh, look at that. I mean, people, this is the stuff that you came here to TRI to learn. Location. Do we have any signs of divergence in here? Let's just throw this on here. Yep, nice div coming in off of here. Willie's stupid. You can even see divs in RSI. I mean, guys, this is it. Reza, now you're supposed to go value, 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 value. I mean, this is exactly what I need for you guys to learn here, right? I'm not going to comment on the particular asset. I mean, the irony of it all, what we do, kind of like what Kevin was saying earlier with his stock is, you could sub in any name here. It doesn't really matter. You could sub in any exchange here. What I need for all of you to see is this, right? Location, divergence, structure, go, buy me a Lambo. So, anyway, great stuff, Colin. Thank you so much for that contribution today. That's awesome. All right, so we're getting close to the top of the hour. I think we'll just finish off with just a quick boo at the corn itself. Still can't figure out whether we are risk on or risk off here with the corn. But one thing that I did notice that jumped out at me yesterday, which I find quite surprising, is Mr. Gann is basically owning this market. We talked a little bit about how 50% rules probably should have been traded to in about half of the time that the market took to come down here, and sure enough, almost exactly right on cue. It was off by 1 bar. It hit that 50% level. So then last night I just did the same logic. I said, okay, well, so if Mr. Gann's owning this, then theoretically we should see a 50% retracement in about half of the time that it took this rally to happen. And it was interesting last night sitting in the lounge. Of course, we had price dump into this level, and I said, according to Mr. Gann, and last night when I was looking at this, and we'll put the algo away for now, we had that level hit, and I said, well, and that was right there on that event right there. And I said, well, Mr. Gann would suggest that probably the 50% level needs to be traded to within this 13 bars. And so I figured that there was just going to be a big hurry up and do nothing until we get to this 13th bar. And can everybody see what's happening here? I mean, that's incredible. So literally, we still have one more bar to go to get to this 13th bar. And look at what price is doing. I mean, when I see this stuff, it's just like, holy crap. Also, too, and it was interesting because I had sort of, chided myself, because then Colin even sort of pointed this out, that what I usually like to do with the algo is I like to let the signal come in, and then on the structure following that event, the algo signal fires. And it kind of was a little cheeky on, I think it was Saturday's class with Colleen. I was sort of like, all right, we've made the call. Everybody go buy your Bitcoins. It's fascinating how this double bottom here that basically fired there, it's still working away. I mean, it's underwater right now, but it hasn't had its stops busted. But I think probably the most important thing that jumps out at me, and this is exactly what we just saw happen on this silly S&P market. Remember, we had seen this last week. And I had sort of talked about candle body lows and reload zones, and wow, this was just such an incredible level. Of course, on the big stock indexes, lots of FUs just to sort of wash out the weak hands, but this, I think, was the trade level. And then on NASDAQ, it was even more pronounced. I mean, it was just absolutely textbook right into that candle body low. In fact, why don't we even put a line on there? So, gee whiz, reload zones, candle body lows, and in comes a pivot right back up top. So, gee whiz, here we are on Bitcoin doing exactly the same thing. I mean, if you want to just take away something, let's see where I can find the damn chart. There it is. I gotta say, I think they just did this again. If I was going to take this trade, and I heard that Colin said he got stopped out on a little day trade, this doesn't surprise me that little FUs down in this area, kind of like what we just saw in the S&Ps. If I was going to take this trade, I'd have to actually risk to a break of this low and give the market the opportunity to come down and swim against these levels. But as you can see, really what's ended up happening here over the past, like I think you could argue 1, 2, 3 bars, and this is a 4-hour chart, so that's like literally 12 hours, is just backing up into a buying window for the New York boys. They pulled a little FU to just screw the people that were just taking little day trades, but nonetheless, you can see how we're working our way right back to Mr. 50% roll. So if that's the case, and we should probably, that being the case that Mr. Gann seems to be driving this bus, we should probably over this next 6 bars be looking for Bitcoin to rally back to this 10,400 area here on Stamp. That, I'd like to see this thing finish, and if anything, maybe we form like a fractal here. We made a lower low. So, not really enough of a justification to pull the trigger just yet. I do like the idea, of course, that this was reload zone, candle body lows, trade location. And I just posted in the lounge, I'm going to paper trade this, see how we do. But I would be definitely thinking just over this time window that we're going to bounce back to this 10,400 area. And interesting, too, just off of this particular study, if we just go off of the high end of the range, that's going to be basically a revisit of value low and see whether we want to accept back into value. So I'll be watching this closely over the next, basically was 6 times 4, whatever the hell that is. 6 times 4 is 24, so basically over the next day. And I guess what I find interesting is we're building towards an apex here. Mr. Gann's sort of thesis about 50% levels and 50% of the time, we're coming into some sort of apex. Something big is about to happen, and maybe that's Colin's ultimate breakdown in Bitcoin dominance, and this thing loses its lunch and dumps. I can't really call one way or the other right now. I do find it interesting. Algo did go uber bear on that event. I would like to see some sort of structure develop here and Algo still be bearish. And if we lose these lows on some sort of structure and we're still bearish, then I think, we're done. And there's probably going to be a pretty juicy short trade set up here. But for the time being, I'm actually thinking maybe we need to do a bit of backfilling. But just, until we get through this next 4 to 8 hours, through Fed minutes, all that kind of stuff, I'm looking for just a test back of this 10,200 area. Okay, we're well past the top of the hour, so I think we'll probably leave it at that for today. Thank you very much, Colin. Great job. I'll ask the mayors. Do you feel like we got value for our audience here today?
Yes, sir.
All right, we got one mayor chimed in.
Yes,
and Kevin's on board. Kevin's still pissed off at his Park City. Has it gone to $10 yet? No, okay, so it's calmed down a bit here. But
backing off a little bit.
Yeah, great work, everybody. Whether it be stocks, whether it be crypto, thank you, Colin, for that. whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be big futures markets, currencies, whatever. I think we got the market fairly well tapped here this morning for you. So let's watch for Fed minutes. Let's see what fireworks develop out of that. And then the next sort of big event will be Mr. Powell's speech at Jackson Hole on Friday. Okay, have yourselves a great day, everybody. All the best, and bye for now.